Hi, my name is Harvey Bravman. I'm your host for Brookline Hub In-Depth. I'm with Amy Browning Emmert, and she is on the steering committee for the 2021 Brookline Open Studios Marketplace. And we're going to talk a little about Brookline Open Studios this year and anything else that we can think of that's on that subject line. Amy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Tell us a little about you. You're the Amy Browning Emmert elevator talk, I guess. You're,
okay.
A little about how you came to this, how you came to be on the steering committee, how you came to be involved in arts in Brookline, and a little about you.
I was back in the day when I went to college, I studied sculpture. I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts, and I was very interested in printmaking then, the sort of sculptural aspects of it. And but I went on to get a public health master's degree in healthcare delivery, and I moved through research, medical research, and clinical research, and healthcare management since then as my primary occupation. As part of that, all along, I maintained a practice as an artist. Part of that was working with scientists and business people on illustrating scientific concepts that were happening at the time, molecular biology ideas, also some like basic illustrations of flows. And so I maintained an arts activity throughout my life. I also maintained a studio for fine arts. Most recently, I moved in with a group of other people and created an LLC, Station Street Studios, which is in the old America's Test Kitchen building on Station Street in Brookline Village. And we're there. I have a printing press there, which you can see in the background. It's a French tool printing press, which came from the Providence Art Club. I am busy working on a lot of printmaking. But a few years ago, I joined the Brookline Commission for the Arts, and somebody suggested that I get involved in that, and that sort of led to a few other things, including being involved with Arts Brookline, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to raising money for and then supporting arts events around Brookline. And I also got involved with Brookline Interactive Group, primarily thinking about how Brookline Interactive Group can support the arts. And I'm now the treasurer of the board of trustees for the Brookline Interactive Group. I just rolled off the Brookline Commission for the Arts recently because I reached my term limit. But I'm continuing in a subcommittee working on a project to start an emerging artist support program for new artists. We have maintained a poet laureate program, and it was clear that we needed to, it was always sort of designating very experienced people. And so we decided that we really needed something for emerging artists because they were always sort of not being selected for things like that. So we're working on that. And so the Brookline Open Studios, I wasn't involved with until maybe only 3 years ago. And I enjoyed the Open Studios. I was a participant as an artist in Open Studios for a few years. And then I decided to join the steering committee when it transitioned to the Brookline Arts Center for, they sort of sponsor the program or hold the program and keep it going. And, then we hit the pandemic. And so this year, it's very exciting. We are holding it entirely outside, which is a completely different from what it's been in the past. And we're holding it at two sites, one at Monmouth Park outside the Brookline Arts Center and one along Station Street. And we've got a very unexpectedly large turnout of artists who have decided to participate. I mean, it's really quite extraordinary. I don't know, I think about maybe 60 individual artists, something like that. Some are sharing spaces. And the Station Street site at least is going to also have live music. Well, many people will be under those sort of craft tents. Some will just be out at tables. We're hoping for good weather. It will be on October 2nd, Saturday, October 2nd from 11 to 5. And we also are hosting a number of sort of municipal programs of interest in some of the spots. So, there's some people who are trying to promote different activities that the town is supporting. So that's sort of where I am right now.
Let's talk a little about Brookline Open Studios. And you say hoping for good weather.
We sure are.
Would praying for it be?
Yes, we have a rain date, which is the next day, Sunday, October 3rd. So we'll just move it to that date if we get rain on Saturday and not Sunday. We're hoping for good weather. October is pretty good around here, so we'll hope for the best. It could be a complete washout, but we think for the most part, where our chances of having good weather are probably pretty good.
Tell me about some of the logistical challenges of having this outdoors, and how did you come to that? I'm assuming you came to that decision because of the pandemic and you thought this was the safest route forward.
Well, last year we decided to move the program outdoors as well, and then we completely canceled it because the COVID was just really still raging, and we were going to do the same thing. It was the first weekend in October. So this year we decided we're going to follow through and do it. We know better, we feel more confident about how to do it. We had a sort of a test run on Station Street in May. We did a little pop-up marketplace to see about interest, and it was enormously successful. It was just a smaller number of, just not very many, maybe 6 tents, and a lot of people from Brookline came by, and it was very busy. And they said they loved it, and they really enjoyed being able to be outside and talk to people in person, because everybody was just sort of hungering for that. And so we decided to go ahead and take that model and run with it for now. We don't know what we're going to do next year. We'll see how this goes. So, that's how the logistics are hard, because many artists, especially people who normally show their work in gallery settings and indoor settings, didn't start out as being prepared to do this. So they didn't have craft tents, and they didn't have or tables or any of the gear. So we weren't expecting a lot of them to participate, but we are very pleasantly surprised at how many people want to participate.
I mean, I think it's something that everyone is going to look forward to. It just to be able to be outside among people.
That's right.
That share your interests, and we've all gone so long without that, and then the tents themselves, or you supply the tents and are all open?
No, people have to supply their own equipment, and some people will just be in open tables. That happened in the marketplace in May as well, that we did. And it was interesting. I bought a second tent maybe a month ago. I ordered one, and when I went back online to find that site for some other people, they were all sold out. And I think maybe this is sort of becoming a little bit of a thing, and so now all of a sudden those craft tents are in high demand.
Yeah, I just went to an outdoor wedding, and there was a big tent, and I guess I didn't think of that I bet you that they were competing with others to get that tent.
Absolutely, for rentals as well. That's right. Absolutely. Yep.
So there are 60 artists, and
I don't know the exact numbers as of today. Today is the last day, of enrollment. So far, on the Station Street site, we have about 45 artists that will be spread across about 30 spaces. There's some people are sharing, And on the Monmouth Street site, they have about 14 spaces, and there are going to be multiple artists in different spaces as well. So it's amazing, really. We were going to be happy if we had 5 or 6, you know.
Right. And
So it's amazing. Yeah.
and it's a combination of like an open studios and a marketplace, so that,
Right.
you know, normally when you go through the open studios, you're going right into what is actually the studio where
And
the artist is working. And now there must be, I bet you there's going to be several different interpretations of
yes,
what the open studio would look like under
right.
a tent.
Yeah. I think, you know, and actually, to be fair, I think a lot of the open studios around town, you know, Roslindale and JP and other places, and in Brookline, some of the sites were shared sites. So in the past, they've had open studios where there would be a bunch of artists in town hall or at the library or in the police station. There would be, I set up in Village Works, which is right here in Brookline, with a bunch of other people. And then one time it was in a school, you know, there were a lot of people inside in the school, like marketplace style, plus the people who have studios that are somewhere along the path that they could invite people into. Sometimes people invited them into their homes, and they would be hosting 2 or 3 artists. So it never was really 100%, you know, going into the studio. Some artists have demonstrations, some show, you know, some of the tools of the trade. I mean, I did that a couple of years ago, where I put out like printmaking gear so that people could see, in the actual plates that the prints were made from, you know, so people could see that. The kids in particular love to see that and talk about it. So there, you know, there are different approaches. Some people try to set up their tent like a gallery. You know, they have these very nice like supports, and they have their paintings hanging like as if they were in a gallery. So you're right. Everything's going to be different. Everybody's going to interpret it differently. We have a lot of ceramicists in Brookline Village. So you're going to see a lot of great ceramics, like terrific ceramics out there. There are some really talented ceramicists here.
What's the difference between, so this is going to be on Station Street, and it's also going to be on Monmouth Street?
Monmouth
And
Park, in the
Monmouth
park.
Park. And is there going to be a difference between the 2 options if people want to go to one or trying to decide which one they
Not
should
really.
go
I mean,
to?
we're trying to keep them. I think Monmouth Park one will have somewhat fewer artists because it's a smaller site. So Station Street has sort of 30 spaces, 30 sites. And the Monmouth Street only has about 14 or 15. So there's going to be a difference in size, but we are going to encourage people to go to both sites. And of course, the Green Line, we're hoping they're not going to be doing weekend work. We think they're not that weekend. And so people can just jump on the train and go down the way, you know, and get back and forth, or they can just walk down Kent Street, you know. So it's only about, they're only about 1.5 miles apart, or 1.25 miles apart, something like that. So we're hoping people will go to both. And the only other difference, you know, is that on Station Street, as you know, we're you know, Brookline Village is full of small restaurants, right? That's sort of the thing that's happening now, very, very active. And I think there's a lot of food options around here. Plus, on the Station Street site, Brothers and Sisters, which is a very popular small cafe on Station Street, has invited some of their colleagues in the food industry to come and you know, promote their particular food items, and they'll probably be giving out free samples. They did that in May, and it was very popular. A hummus company came, and everybody was eating hummus. It was like a big hummus party. And then we're also going to try to have live music at both sites, but we do know the Station Street site will be pretty active with live music.
What are some of the, do you know now, the live music?
I don't have the complete lineup, but I do know one plan is that the John Payne Music School is putting together a big band of students, and they're all going to pour out onto the street and do a whole sort of a concert out in front of their place, and then they're all going to escape back inside. It's going to be very
Wow.
So we're gonna have that. We will be putting in on our materials that we'll be posting on the Brookline Arts Center website. We'll be, as soon as we have the music lineup, we'll be able to identify the times of the bands so people can, you know, tailor their visits accordingly if they're interested.
And we're gonna have on this show, when we're done, we'll put whatever the latest bits of information you
Sure.
have, so that people, when they're watching this is going to air that last week of September, first week of October, just leading up to the event.
Perfect.
So people who are watching this now, you're making plans for the weekend and everything to go. And so we'll put up some information so that you can do and go and buy, and you can
That's right.
decide whether the walk in between the two locations, depending on whether you bought something in the first location.
Yeah,
If you bought
that's right.
something delicate in the first location, you might want to get on the T, and otherwise you might want a mile and a half is only about a half an hour or so. So you
Right.
can just
It's
walk down the
it's a
street.
pleasant, easy walk. It's not bad.
Yeah.
But the T is right there. So you can go from Brookline Village down to Longwood and walk over, or to the Fenway stop, which is just as close. So.
And this is between 11 o'clock in the morning and 5 in the afternoon on
That's right.
October 2nd. Semi-rain or shine, that there's a rain date of October 3rd, the same hours on that Sunday, and which is good. The big I can't think of the name of it. It's on the Charles, the regatta.
Oh, yes.
I
Head
don't
of the
think they
Charles.
have a rain date. I think it's
No,
on
they do
Sunday.
it no matter what. Yeah. Well, also the Women's March has popped up for October 2nd downtown. So we would encourage people who are coming back from that on the T, because presumably they'll need to take the T, that are coming from Brookline, to stop by, you know, at the end of the day. It'll even if they're coming in late, like at 5 o'clock or so, it'll be a while before nothing's going to get shut down prior to 5 o'clock. And in fact, many of the artists may just stick around till about 6. So I think, you know, if you're going to the Women's March, we welcome you to come back and take a look at what our artists have to offer. Most of whom are women, actually.
And I'm about 99.5% sure this is a nonprofit effort. So will there
Oh,
be
yeah.
places that people can contribute to this for future
Yes.
years? And
Yes, the Brookline Arts Center will have tents, first of all, at each site. So there'll be staff there. And then another fundraiser we're doing is, which I'm going to be operating, which is we're calling the Brookline Print Emporium, where we will market prints by artists, low-cost prints by various artists. 15% of the proceeds will go to the Arts Brookline for support of events, which Arts Brookline supports things like Porch Fest, as an example, Celebrate Music, you know, those programs and other programs. And so we can take 15% for that, and then the rest will go to the artists, who are also in need of an infusion of income right now, many of whom are really not, you know, haven't been able to do very much business. So.
I know it's been tough for artists.
Yeah.
And it's
and that tent will be at the Station Street site. And then, and as I said, the Brookline Arts Center will be available at each site, and they will have a way for you to, you know, make donations if you wish.
Is there anything that I should have asked about Brookline Open Studios that I didn't ask?
I don't think so. I mean, I think it remains to be seen if this whole model works. It may end up being something that this open outdoor marketplace thing may end up being so popular that we'll just continue to do it, you know, in some form or another. Whether it's still called Open Studios, maybe we need to rename it. I think we are actually naming it Open Studios and Marketplace. So, you know, it ends up being more of the marketplace than the studio part of it. But the open part is important. Also, you should be aware that the Arts Center was funded by the Brookline Commission for the Arts to provide scholarships for artists who can't afford to pay the $75 entry fee. So there's still scholarships available. So we are hoping artists are not turned away, or who don't feel like they can't afford it. Everybody is welcome, and we want to make sure it is truly open studio so people can come and be part of it. We also have a couple of artists who are sponsoring tents for other artists who don't have the means to get a tent and, participate. So
I think it's brilliant. I really do. I love going to open studios, but I'll tell you, especially in the fall, on a beautiful fall day, and you're going into this big factory building that's been converted into artist studios, and it's really cool, but it is beautiful outside, and you are going into a big building with a lot of studios inside. I know that there's,
yeah, we're not gonna, eventually we are thinking about, for this building, which is where I am right now, we are thinking about if COVID allows us to, having a sort of like what the SOA studios do on First Friday. We're thinking of having an indoor marketplace in this building closer to the holidays. So stay tuned for that. And we may have another pop-up market more in sort of the November timeframe out front as well. So it would be a smaller marketplace. So the Station Street really lends itself to that. It's a great spot. People can get off the T here. And as I said, there's lots of places to go get dinner or lunch, breakfast, whatever. And lots of other shops here. We have some new shops here that are really, since COVID, some of the storefronts have changed hands, and it's a lively place. And in fact, I'm involved with working on a project to designate this area as a cultural district, the Brookline Village Cultural District. So we're going to be actively working on that in the coming year to finish that project up. We put it on hold during the worst part of the pandemic. We were very busy with that before, and now we're going to get back to work at that because we think we have quite a nice place for that type of designation.
That'd be brilliant. Of a long time. It really has been the cultural, center of the community for a long time. So
it is
great that it's designated that.
Right. Yeah. And the buildings, there are many historic buildings here. I took one of those walkarounds with Ken Liss, and it was overwhelming how much history there is here. And then between that and the main library, and obviously town hall, and all the sculptures and other things that you don't realize are there until somebody kind of tells you about it. So one of the things we're going to try to do is get kiosks, sort of that you can sort of, we'll apply for grants so that somebody will narrate something about what you're looking at along the way, so you can do self-guided tours. I think that would be really, really great.
There should be a Ken Liss kiosk.
Oh, it will be. He's going to be totally involved. He wants to do this.
He is the man.
Yeah, he wants to do this. Yeah.
Last question I can think of right now is just food. Always thinking about food. You did mention Brothers and Sisters, and they're right on that street, and they'll be open, and,
Yep.
and they may be doing their own thing with that. But is there any other food options, or is that it mainly it's got the whole street there?
Well, right at the end, if you just take a few steps up and around the corner, there are about 10 small affordable restaurants, 15 restaurants. It's amazing. It's becoming a little mecca for small, interesting restaurants. And then there's a Japanese restaurant across the street that's fantastic. It's really kind of comfort Japanese food. It's fabulous. Outdoor seating. We'll have a couple of these food vendors that will be here trying to get people interested in what they have to offer through free samples. So I think, and I just want to point out too that Station Street has a community refrigerator too for people who have food insecurities. People are depositing food there, and then people come and pick it up. And it's a free food exchange going on right outside of Brothers and Sisters. Very active little food community refrigerator.
That's fantastic. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing this information. And what we're going to do is we'll put on some web links and other information so that you could see, and we'll try to keep that on the screen for a little while so people know what to do. And if you miss it, you could just watch the show again. It'll be interesting, and then you'll be able to have another opportunity to write that information down.
And there will be the Brookline Arts Center is their website. Just go there. You can even go there now and get more and more information as we go along. There will be the site maps are being finalized in the next couple of days so that you'll be able to see all the artists that are going to be exhibiting and which site, where they're going to be located if you're looking for a particular artist. And then you'll be able to look up the artists, their artist statements, and some of the examples of their work on the website.
That's terrific. Thank you so much for coming on. And
thank you for having me. This is great. And I encourage everybody to stop by. It'll be 2 wonderful block parties.
Hi, my name is Danielle Myers of ADW Video Productions and BrooklineHub.com. BrooklineHub.com is a 501c3 nonprofit online publication dedicated to community building through local reporting and events. Brookline Facing Civil Rights was produced by our founder, Harvey Bravman. The film is about the experiences of African Americans who helped break the wall of segregation that existed in Brookline before the civil rights laws were passed in the 1960s. Last year, the film sold out the Coolidge Corner Theater and included a panel discussion on inclusivity. You can stream the film and the discussion on BrooklineHub.com in exchange for a donation to the Brookline Community Foundation's Safety Net Fund. You can also stream Soul Witness, a film that features interviews with Brookline Holocaust survivors conducted 30 years ago, on soulwitness.org. For the last 11 years, Harvey has been interviewing outstanding teens as part of an event held at the Coolidge called the Brookline Youth Awards. The Brookline Youth Awards are an opportunity for Brookline residents to hear about the character, challenges, and dreams of its young people, as well as adults dedicated to their success through the power and intimacy of video interviews.